There's something in the air.
Hey Earpers, welcome back to the next episode of There's Something in the Air, where today we're actually going to cover 110, which is called She Can't Be Really Gone. Is that it?
Sure.
No.
Oh. What is it?
She wouldn't be gone.
Oh. Sorry, that reminded me of the song She Can't Be Really Gone, which I've been singing all morning. So.
I think maybe she left and I don't know where she is. Episode 110, everyone's favorite episode.
Or as we like to call it, they found some bitch in the woods. So anyways, yeah, you're here with BP.
Michelle.
And Monica.
And yeah, let's just kick this off. What do we got to start with?
Well, a lot of shit goes down in this episode, way more than I actually remembered.
I did not remember this episode, at all.
Literally the main reason that I remembered, it's a great episode and I love it, but the main reason that I remembered it was because we cosplayed as Cult of Yiska members at DragonCon? I think so.
Yeah, at DragonCon.
Easiest cosplay ever. You need a little bit of face paint.
I came up with an easier cosplay that I am going to do at a future con, but I can't tell you what it is because I don't want anyone to rip off my idea.
So can you tell us when we're not recording?
No, I don't trust you bitches.
We're the ones she thinks are gonna rip her off.
Yeah, nobody else will. Don't worry. Can I say that Wynonna and Waverly are the least sneaky people on the face of the earth?
Yes. You
Like, let me get a bug. It's going to be the size of a quarter. Let me put it right out in the open on a shiny metal boot. And let me ostentatiously grab it to put it on there.
Basically, their plan was flawed in every single possible way. The fact that they got away with it for as long as they did just speaks volumes about how incompetent the Revenants are.
Which is 23 minutes.
Well,
right?
Because they bust in. The bug size is fine. You just need to place it somewhere smart. And she didn't place it at the bottom of the tip jar boot thing, whatever. She placed it
I don't think hide it in plain sight is ideal for bugs, but I'm no spy.
Yeah, you gotta go under the bar lip or something.
Yeah, on that is stupid. I feel like you also wouldn't want to put it on something that's conductive.
Yeah, maybe the broken taps instead.
Yeah.
Well, but was it magnetic? Because it seemed like how it stuck and how Bobo pulled it off, it seemed like it was maybe magnetic. And that's why it had to go on the boot.
That's a stupid bug.
Whoa, okay.
Maybe you could just go put that shit on the generator. Fuck that.
They can't go on the Earp land, BP. God, that's the only flaw in that plan.
Clearly the only flaw.
Yeah, so they had absolutely zero stealth abilities. The entire all of them just bust, or the two of them busting into Shorty's to create a scene was just I'm surprised that Bobo wasn't this was obviously a ploy, because that was so stupid.
Was he upstairs in Waverly's apartment? Because he comes downstairs. Was he just chilling? I mean, I know she took the cowgirl key hanger away, so he doesn't have that. But was he just reading or whatever?
Well, she moved out.
Well, yeah. But he's coming downstairs. I just wondered, does he live there now instead of at the creepy-ass trailer park?
I kind of hope that he would be smart enough to live there, because, I think it's a step up.
There's a hole in the wall. Don't
Literally and figuratively a step up.
Yes.
No, the hole's been patched since, the Shorty strip mall got expanded. It's fine.
That's true.
Right.
They did have to knock out some walls to expand the entire building, to take up the whole city block, so...
Yeah, Purgatory's right next door, right?
Yep.
I did think there were a couple of out of character things in this. I say tentatively, this is just my opinion.
I like how you're avoiding the pitchforks.
What?
You're actively trying to avoid the pitchforks.
I with everything we've seen from Bobo, like up until now, how he's treated Waverly, like I'm thinking specifically of them in the interrogation room together, and then what we've learned about their history in season 2, I felt like the lewd comments he makes to her are kind of out of character. That's not how Bobo treats Waverly. I can see him talking to Wynonna like that. Or, Dolls or Doc, anybody else. Anybody else but Waverly. Now, maybe he was just putting on a show for his bros, but I don't know, it just kind of struck me as out of character. Just to me.
That's what I think, though, that he was just acting differently in front of his minions.
Yeah, I agree, because it doesn't make any sense, especially because of how special Waverly is to him, but he also has to be, like, the big badass boss man, so, like, he has to be a dick, because apparently that's what demands respect amongst the Revenants.
Speaking of dicks, I also found it odd that Waverly was wearing something that belonged to Willa.
Me too, and I did not remember that at all. And then it was like so much even deeper and interesting that that's what he took, like as if he recognized it as, his swan. Was it a swan? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up now,
it reminded me, Monica, you won't get this, but it kind of really reminded me of the Raven that Finn made Raven / also Clark.
Yeah, me too.
I was just
oh
like,
my god, me too.
I was just
that
like,
was
shit.
double-headed deer, but whatever.
Well, no, because whatever, like origami with scrap metal.
Exactly.
I was sitting there and I'm like, man, did they just like rob the set of the Hundy?
It was not that similar, but yeah, no, I feel you. I thought the same thing.
Literally the only reason that, like, I think out of the three of us watch the most CW shows, this is a little tangent, but like Lex's knife from the Hundy showed up when Aiden guest starred on Legends of Tomorrow and he had that fucking knife.
What?
Yeah. I was sitting there and I was like, that's definitely Lex's knife. Like, does like the CW, like their backlot, wherever they're at, have just like a prop cabinet that's just like for all our shows? Let's recycle this stupid knife.
I don't know, but my friend told me that they played that same Rain version of Knocking on Heaven's Door on another show. So
iZombie, I think.
Yeah, they just get certain rights and they just pass them around.
I mean, like, the music makes sense because it's expensive to get the rights to music, but also I don't think that there's any show that can use that song ever again.
No, it's just inappropriate at this point.
Because, like, the Hundy, like, they like maxed out. It was the perfect use of a song. Like, you can't top it, so stop trying.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hundy tangent aside.
We have some Hundy feels right now.
So yeah, I thought it was weird that Waverly was wearing something of Willa's.
Thanks for getting back on point there. We kind of just quick Hundy spiral. No big deal.
That's why I made very detailed notes.
I'm glad that you took notes. I watched the episode and I was like, man, I love this episode. There's a pad of paper 5 feet away from me. It's too much effort.
No problem. I don't know what it was. I should have, when you guys were talking about that stuff that I wasn't paying attention to just now, I should have looked up a screen grab of it to see what it was. Maybe someday. I also really liked Waverly's, I can't wait for you to shoot him in the face.
I know. Salty Waverly.
We always talk about oblivious Wynonna. We have oblivious Waverly in this episode. So apparently it just kind of runs in the family that nobody can tell who anyone else is sleeping with.
Oh, oblivious Waverly, when Nicole's like, haha, you sleeping with Doc, because that's a secret. And she's like, oh, fuck, like you actually didn't know, huh?
I think, though, that at least Doc and Wynonna are a little more subtle than Nicole and Waverly.
No, like Wynonna walked in on them like a millimeter away from making out.
Also, close the fucking door. Look how easy that is. You're in the doorway in a police station. People are probably there.
Well, and the thing is, like, Nicole went through the trouble of, like, fake picking something up to drag Waverly into Nedley's office. And then they were just like, ooh, we're in the doorway. This is far enough. Like, you went through the trouble of moving to the office. You just couldn't take that last step of closing the door.
I feel like it was just so they didn't have to move the camera, honestly.
Oh, that's definitely why. Like, and also because it started the wonderful oblivious Wynonna, but it's like, you two, again with the stealth.
it was, I don't know. It was, I'm screaming shut the door, but it's still it's a funny scene. Like what are you guys doing? Is basically what they said. I know they said actual words, but barely.
I don't think it was just like it was just so like sad. It was like, you guys, like, the fact that like all of Purgatory doesn't know that they're together is a miracle. Wynonna and Doc are definitely a bit more stealthy about it, because like they just like have sex on the homestead and then they just kind of leave it like that and pretend that they don't like each other that way outside of it.
I wondered how Bobo knew about them, because
That's
it's
a good
different for him.
question.
It's different for him to be oblivious to it as opposed to Wynonna's sister.
That's a really good point. I never even thought of that.
Like, is that something else that the that the mole told him? But then the mole would know stuff from Black Badge, and then Dolls would know, who obviously didn't know.
I was a little bit confused about that entire mole stuff.
No, I agree. I still am. I think we talked about this at some point. And I wonder, was the mole Lucado? Was she feeding information to Bobo so Dolls would fail? Is this going to come up in season 14? As a thread that they finally picked up.
I thought this was going to be another instance of me being like really stupidly like oblivious about obvious stuff. But it didn't make complete sense to you two either, right?
No, I don't remember that at all. And I definitely don't remember them like resolving it.
No, I think they just leave it.
And that's how, Bobo knows about Whiskey Jim, I guess.
But the thing is, like, yeah, so there has to be a mole inside of Black Badge, because that's the only way he'd know about Whiskey Jim. But then Whiskey Jim didn't actually tell them anything. Like,
he told them what Bobo wanted them to know, because Bobo wanted to get rid of Lou, right?
Yeah. So he told them like the one thing that he wanted like him to feed them, so that either like Wynonna would get killed or Lou would get killed. There was no losing for Bobo on that one. But like, I don't know. It just, and like they abandoned it because we don't know at any point thus far who the mole was, right?
I don't think so. I mean, if we don't know, who would?
Because
17
we're fucking
emails flood our inbox.
we're fucking experts on this show.
Yeah,
Obviously.
sure.
This podcast is 100% accurate at all times.
Even when you said that.
So when Wynonna walks in the room with her coat and throws it on the coat rack, did you guys see that? So it should have hangers and she should hang it up. It's like a clothing bar. She just throws it on top. It made me laugh.
Wait, where was this?
When she and Waverly walk into Black Badge and Dolls has his headphones on.
Oh yeah, she just like tossed it indiscriminately on like the whole thing.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it just made me laugh. It's, people can probably make a soundbite of me saying this 17,000 times, but it's one of those little character things that fleshes out the character even more, that seems so, realistic, and I don't know, it just really made me laugh. I don't know why.
Trivia in this episode: Dolls is from Arizona.
Yeah, who
I
knew?
don't remember that. And also, do they watch football together, or do you think he was just like reading the paper one day and like cheered over the Cardinals beating the Cowboys?
Or maybe it sounded like they were either watching or listening to the game.
That was my that's like what I love about TV shows. Like, it's sometimes frustrating when you don't get like the entire like story of a relationship, because it's like not possible to do on TV. But like sometimes I like when you get those little tidbits and you get to fill in the blanks about like a relationship, and it adds so much more to the dynamic like as a viewer.
One of the things I find strange about that in this case, though, is it seems like, at least up till this point in the show, like the timeline has been so tight. Like, when are they doing that?
When are they watching football together?
Or
Yeah.
or listening to football.
Maybe they're doing it in the car, like driving to a stakeout or something.
Well, and the thing is,
Yeah.
I don't think that like there's like a time lapse between episodes. I think,
There would have to be.
unless it's a very like, because otherwise like the entire show is taken up like a month.
13 days.
Yeah, like it. So that like there has to be time lapses, and I love that like tangent. Like Person of Interest did that really really well, where there were like lapses between the different episodes, and so like you got tidbits, like little details here or there. Like the entire shoot relationship was like subtext and like hints thrown at the audience for so long. And I just really love like that in a TV show. So like learning little details like that about like their dynamic and their relationship, when you like sit there and actually pay attention to the story, adds so much for you as a viewer if you're obsessive enough to like notice details like that.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely not no time. I'm not saying that the whole season's been, 10, 14 days or whatever, but they are pretty tight on like going, right to the next thing.
It does make Dolls and Wynona's relationship seem less sudden if they're spending time together watching football or hanging out. Like, who else does Dolls know in Purgatory? Wynonna, Waverly, Nicole, Doc, and Nedley.
I think that little tidbit also feeds into his reaction to when he finds out that Wynonna and Doc slept together. I don't know necessarily that it was because he's like pining after Wynonna. I think it, like, he very well may be. I'm not good at reading all that nonsense, but like I think it more has to do with the fact that if they have been hanging out and spending time and like watching football and this and that and bonding, and then like having that kind of significant thing like be hidden from him and having to find out from their like nemesis, like I think that that's where his reaction comes from more so than anything else.
I do think he's pining, but I can also see there being that added later of just like, I thought we were friends and I thought I knew you sort of thing.
I feel like Dolls wouldn't be one to hold somebody's action, like Wynonna hooking up with someone while he was just sitting there pining. I don't think that he would necessarily like begrudge her that, because he's just sitting there pining and not making that known.
I don't think his issue is that she's hooking up with someone. I think his issue is that she's hooking up with Doc.
100%.
Well, yeah.
And also he's just embittered by the fact that like he definitely does want to be with her, but he's got that, I don't want to say that it's weird necessarily, but it's like the work thing, like we're partners, we can't, like I just can't pursue that, and he's totally bitter about it.
And he's her boss.
Right.
Not just that they're partners.
True.
Also in this scene, these scenes, like in the sheriff's department, I would like to point out that Waverly is wearing a sleeveless shirt. Elsewhere, everybody is wearing fur coats.
I fucking love, like, I noticed it for the first time, like, really blatantly and obviously in this episode, that, like, Waverly's not wearing a ton of clothing. And then Wynonna's telling Dolls, like, are those the warmest shoes you have? Because we're about to go into the fucking tundra.
And Waverly's like, oh, it's fine. I think she did throw on a jacket over her shorty's shirt that she tied up around her midriff.
Her, like, crop
and
top?
Probably has, what?
Her, like, crop top?
Yeah, but it's not, but she, like, ties it up. It's not an actual crop top. But I think she threw a jacket over that. She probably tore the sleeves off of it.
My thing, this is, like, the first time where, like, the fact that this is, like, a Western, and the fact that they're filming this in Calgary in the fucking winter really clash. Because, like, we can, like, at least I can move past where, like, it's, like, a Western, and it's, like, warm, supposedly. Like, that's the type of, like, environment that they're, like, kind of portraying. But every single time you see someone outside, like, their breath, you can see their breath. But every single time they have to, like, go out of Purgatory, it's, like, snowy and freezing, and everybody's in, like, parkas and, like, snow boots. There's just a real disconnect.
It's so beautiful, though.
It really is. I would love to visit.
I mean, how they shoot it is, too. But, like the scene when Doc drives away in the pink Cadillac, I thought that was really pretty. Anytime they show any of the scenery is lovely. It's just, the Alberta is an extra character in the episode almost.
Oh, yeah.
It's also kind of cool in the sense that it kind of puts focus back onto exactly what's happening. Like, there's not a lot of noise in the surroundings, you know what I mean? Most of the time it's just, like, in that scene, like, it's white. And then you have, like, the pink car on top of that. And then you have Nicole and Waverly, like, walking up. I think a lot of times when they're in the snow, it brings a lot of, like, contrast to the outfits, which is cool.
I really enjoy, like, it sucks for the actors when you're filming like outside where it's snowed and it's fucking cold, but I think it really enhances the quality because A, you have that really good contrast, like whatever you're watching really stands out because it's just white. And then B, like snow muffles audio. So like, yeah, I know they have their audio equipment and all of that, but it's also like the audio is kind of isolated too, so it makes it like a little bit more effective because you don't have any background noise really at all.
Right.
Like every part of a scene where they're just in like a snowy environment is just like that much more elevated based off of like the environments they're shooting in.
It's also easy to use the same location
Very good point.
without having to like worry about if somebody recognizes it.
And that helps with it. This isn't what you might call a big budget show.
What?
All the money went to Ursula the Bear, I think, in this episode.
I love when like I'm watching like a show that doesn't have like a huge budget and you have moments where you're like, and that's where all the money went. When we get to the tentacle goo situation, be like, that's literally where all the money went. Okay.
All of it. It was really good, but that's also where all the money went. My brother-in-law's fiance had a movie night and we had to go over and watch The Revenant, and I have to say that my favorite part of the movie was the fact that I knew that that bear was in this episode. I did not care for it.
Never seen it.
I don't
Me
recommend
neither.
it. Don't recommend it. I mean, they loved it. It's just not my jam. Anyway.
I usually
but-
don't like watching movies where there's like one character.
I don't like watching movies in general.
I mean, I agree with that.
I'm all about the serialized narrative.
I thought that Bobo referring to Wynonna as ample paddock was harsh.
Bobo's like insult game was pretty solid this episode.
And then I was like, wait, did he know she was pregnant already? No. They didn't even know she was pregnant already. Calm down.
That'd be quite the retcon.
And we talked about this a little bit, but I do love Oblivious Wynonna. Like, hilarious. Although that was just a big thing that she had to deal with, so I can see why maybe she wouldn't notice, but they were almost making out in the doorway.
I think that on some level she registered what she witnessed, but she was so overwhelmed because this thing that she deemed a huge secret was just like completely let out of the bag by like the biggest asshole she knows. And so I think she was just overwhelmed with the repercussions of that because like you can't be that oblivious. Like they were literally a millimeter away from kissing. I don't know. Maybe she is that oblivious.
She's, I don't know, oblivious about her own feelings too, I think. Definitely. Or just in denial. I really liked, I thought it was interesting, like, with this, when she brings, Constance's car to Doc, he says some really nice things to her, and is, like, flirting with her in a low-key, casual way, and it's making her so uncomfortable.
It's because she has feelings and she just doesn't want to acknowledge them.
And she even says that. She's like, oh, not that there's an us. And we talk about Melanie Scrofano's face a lot, but Tim's face, especially when she says that line. Oh.
Well,
That was heartbreaking.
she's sitting there like drowning in denial. Like she's like, nope, there's nothing here. It was just like casual sex. It's no big deal, nothing. And like it's so obvious to like the third party observer and Waverly that there are feelings there. And like watching Wynonna try to like fight that is hilarious, but then also having her fight that in Doc's face is so painful. And like his reaction to like wanting to like ditch town because his feelings are hurt basically is like, I feel like it's such a character moment because Doc tries so hard to just be like unaffected about everything, but like having Wynonna kind of deny that like there's something between them is enough to send him like running from everything that he knows.
I don't think they're ever going to have a normal, traditional relationship ever. I mean, he still has feelings for her in season 2 and he starts sleeping with Rosita, which is fine. Like, that's not a judgment at all. It's just, man, there's a lot going on with these two.
They're both extremely damaged people. And not that, like, there's anything wrong with being damaged, because most of us are on some level damaged. But it's just, like, two people who don't know how to process anything or, like, handle feelings like that in a way that, I mean, really, that's healthy, because, like, everything that they do for, like, what we know so far in the entirety of the show is just, like, a clusterfuck. Aside from Doc being like, I 100% support you in any decision you make with regards to, like, our child.
I love. Sorry.
No, go.
So when he did get the car, though, I love, like, once Wynonna left him alone with it, and he was just, like, walking around it with the sledgehammer, and I just picture him trying to find a way. He's, like, trying to, like, put down this horse, you know?
I love that he never even considered, like, learning to drive it. Because it's just, like, he would have to, like, destroy his enemy's, like, possession, and that would mean victory.
Right.
I also really love their exchange where he was like, oh, it's pink, it's this manly color, it's, like, fucking badass. And Wynonna's like, that's actually traditionally, like, a girly color. Like, which, that annoyed me, because I can't stand, like, gendering things like colors and whatnot, because I think it's stupid. But I love his reaction where he was like, oh, that used to be blue.
I love that Doc has faced technological changes and everything that's gone on in the world over the past 130 years, which is, like, monumental, but he's confused by, like, why pink is now considered a girly color. He's like, what? Like, it's just...
Cell phones, great. Pink, manly.
Yeah. You guys really crossed a line there.
I really, really love that part of it, because, I think that, like, assigning, like, genders to a color and this and that is ridiculous. And I like that, like, Doc, I think, has a relatively progressive view on most things. Like, when he finds out that, like, Wynonna is pregnant, and he's just like, this is, like, the ball's in your court, like, your body, you do what you want. And that's, like, a pretty progressive view, especially from somebody that comes from a time that was a lot more patriarchal than it is now. Mm-hmm. And things where, like, he's like, I don't understand, like, why you would think pink is, like, a girly color. And, like, not understanding, like, that kind of stuff, and it not even processing or, like, not even computing for him as to, like, why, like, that would be a thing that people think. I think it's just, like, really great, and it also speaks to, like, Doc's character, where he doesn't carry, like, preconceived notions about stuff. Like, he just goes with the flow and is just like, you know what? I don't get it. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. And, like, doesn't just accept it, and, like, kind of questions things. Like, why would you think that pink's a manly color or a female color?
I liked the conversation with Dolls and Wynonna when she was like, I thought you were sick. And he's like, I'm not sick. I thought you were sick and you were going away because you were sick. I found that rather amusing, that's all.
I found that amusing, and I also thought that it was, like, another little thing that spoke to the relationship between Dolls and Wynonna. Like
Saying
her
things without actually saying them.
Well, and her noticing, like, that he, like, figuring out that he was from Arizona because of, like, the football thing. And, like, her being concerned because she thought him being distant was because of some sort of, like, very serious medical thing. Because, like, that's the kind of stuff that I do, or, like people I'm close to, if they start acting weird, I assume, like, the worst because I'm really concerned for them. And so it's just, like, little things like that that are like, oh, these two do care for each other. They're just both assholes that won't admit it.
When Doc and Waverly were talking, and she used the phrase, I think it was knocking boots, and he was like, a gentleman always removes his boots. I enjoyed that as well. And kind of speaks to their relationship too, like a more of a teasing kind of brother-sister sort of joking around thing. I don't know, I really liked that. Also, I think if I were going in the woods and I had a fear of the woods, I maybe would try and tether myself to the person that I was with in the woods.
That probably would have been a good idea.
Especially if I had military training.
I liked Dolls admitting that he had a fear of the woods. I feel like that fear didn't really manifest itself much. like it kind of did with his like kind of like vertigo-y stuff with the birds, but like I mean, like the things that I'm scared of, like I would not be that chill.
I thought his comment was interesting about how he's lost a lot of people amongst the trees.
Yes, I agree.
Like, what's that about?
Um, so this whole season, although granted I watched the first 8 episodes in like 2 days, so this was only probably when I watched this was probably like my second or third week of watching it live. Not live, but like the next day. They kept talking about Willa, and you think maybe something's up with her because they keep talking about her, and you're waiting for it all season. I am still angry at myself that I didn't realize that one of these cult ladies was maybe her.
I couldn't stop thinking the whole time about what we had originally talked about in our Kirsten episode, where it's like, Kirsten would blow this shit wide open. Like, I just can't. Where's Kirsten to explain this stuff to you guys?
I like I could be making this up, but I'm pretty confident that like when I was watching this episode live, I was like, you guys, that's Willa. Like they're like telegraphing her so hard as like somebody, like she's like, oh, I think we really have a connection, and like before she fired Peacemaker, where it was like, you guys, that's probably Willa.
I still got goosebumps when she fired the gun.
I did too. I also like every single time that actor gets killed on a show, I just like get way too happy just because he was such a dick on Orphan Black.
Oh my god, Duco! I freaking hate him so much. So, Constance gave Willa to him, correct?
Or did he take her?
I think he took her.
Lost her.
Yeah, it's a little inconsistent because, or I mean, maybe not inconsistent. It's a little confusing because she says that she lost Willa, but then like, what was his like Lou's motivation for taking her? Like just because he hated Bobo, or was it actually a trade-off?
I thought that he kept her because he knew that that's how Bobo could get out of the Ghost River Triangle. So if he kept her, Bobo wouldn't be able to do that.
But why wouldn't he use her to leave the Ghost River Triangle?
I mean, he's in a cult with like 30 hot women.
Why does he want to leave?
Where are you going?
He's already like hidden. I mean, they're like masked.
And he had a snowmobile, which I thought was amusing.
I loved him like his like exit speech with the snowmobile where he was just like, haha, peace out, motherfuckers, and to flee.
Hi, bitches. So my question with all that, though, the reason for even starting that was, I wondered if she was the first that he like started that cult with, since he called her Eve.
I wondered the same thing, and the answer is no.
Okay.
Because...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, because she was talking about the girl that was there the first night she was there and how she brought her something, blah.
Yes. Because I had written that down, and then they said that, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. He makes a comment about Bobo, and he's like, oh, did he finally figure out that his stupid fur coat won't protect him?
I appreciated that.
In my notes, I'm like, does it have magical powers? Is that why he came back to life? I mean, probably not.
I just like anytime someone throws shade at Bobo's fur coat.
I think it would be a really interesting character study to look at Willa/Eve in this episode versus like Willa by the end of the series.
Well, as soon as she like gets her memories back, she goes from being like, I mean, she's like relatively likable in this episode. Like, yeah, she's a brainwashed cult person and she's dumb.
Not really.
She's not aggressively unlikable.
I guess that's what I was like trying to say. Like, she's fine.
I wondered if Wynonna hitting her in the head with the chamber pot like knocked some of the old Willa into her. I mean, I really liked her in this episode, and then as soon as she gets her memories back, I'm just like, ugh, this bitch. Somebody throw her away.
So there was a just kind of whatever. So there was a throwaway line that was clearly not a throwaway line in the middle when they had brought dolls in, when they said that they had to zap him 3 times to get him down.
Yeah, no, all these little pieces are kind of building this you know, portrait of dolls to telling us what he really is, and that's one of the little pieces.
And then I'm gonna throw out my like terrible line for the episode of this episode, where when he was sitting in the car by himself, and I was just like, kind of, my brain was wandering to like episode 2 and how he wants to be with Wynonna, but how he's like Mr. Government Agent Man in this season, but then next season he's kind of like he doesn't really know who he is and blah 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 blah. Anyway, my question was, are we ever gonna see anyone ride a dragon on this show?
So an observation with the scene where, Nicole, first of all, I've never seen a cop write a ticket that fast. Although
I don't
guess
think she wrote anything in it.
But she handed it to him.
She just wrote like Doc Holliday, like $5 million, and like walked away.
I just feel like she threw it in there so that she could walk away. Like, oh shit, Waverly. Oh, okay, bye.
Like, oh, Waverly wants me to take a call. Oh, Waverly's gonna talk to this guy that I pulled over. Like, okay, really? Is that
Nicole?
what you should be doing?
Nicole is just such a mess with how much she like feels for Waverly.
I mean, I get it, but also, cop. Anyway, I liked the scene with the 3 of them. Like, if if you have any kindness in you, you'll arrest me, and quick. I think that's one of my favorite lines of this episode, and Tim's delivery makes it even better. I, for some reason, am always amused by the shot of Nicole eating her sandwich. Like, oh, just sitting here while my lady friend, interrogates this dude that I pulled over for speeding and definitely didn't write a proper ticket for. And back to the, Willa and Wynonna around the snowmobile time. Wynonna screaming bear will never not be funny.
I kind of forgot about that. It was a very good moment. I really also like so all of the reports of the people that Eve gave to Wynonna, they were like, every bone was broken, their like skin was ripped from them, they were just like devoured by these beasts. Or these skinwalkers like fucked these people up. And then this bear attacks her and Willa, and like Wynonna is helplessly laying like underneath the bear basically, and it doesn't land a single shot. Like, it's just swiping at the snow. Wynonna's not moving. She's not running away. She's just kind of like flailing on the ground, and the bear can't get a single hit on her. And it's for like a long time, because it takes Willa a long time to be like, oh, the gun. Okay, we've talked to Lou. Now I'm gonna go find the gun because Wynonna's shouting about the gun. Like, jog over there, pick up the gun, shoot him, and like the entire time this bear is just like wailing on Wynonna and missing, even though it's like a point blank target.
I thought that when he was leaving, it was really interesting about how he was like, I've survived the first 3 airs, and bitch here makes it 4, and he was pointing at them, and I was kind of like,
oh, good
which
point.
one is he actually talking to?
I didn't even think of that. Have we talked at all about Wynonna and dolls, or Wynonna tracking dolls to that warehouse with his phone? Because I completely forgot that happened at all in the show, and like specifically wasn't expecting it in this episode. And like, I know we talked about how like her admitting that like the reason she was super worried was because she thought that he was sick or something, because like she cares about him. But also like the fact that Dolls allowed himself to be like tracked that easily and get handcuffed to the car. like he just like got completely played.
He did.
It seemed very out of character for him to not have a clue about what was going on. True. It probably is a reflection of his feelings towards her, but it still was like like watching that, I was just like, doll, seriously? Like, she's not even like hiding the fact that she's doing this, like, pretty much at all.
Well, she's all like at the beginning, she's like, "Oops, don't forget your phone."
It was more subtle than him planting the tracker on her in 103.
Basically.
Well, I think literally anything is more subtle than that.
I like that we find out that it's Willa from Gus.
I love her dropping that beer bottle.
Yeah, like
And
the full confirmation.
I really liked, I mean, I just felt like those Melanie Scrofano's last 5 minutes in this episode should have been submitted for an Emmy, and they should have just made her one right there. Like, everything she goes through without saying very much, really. And what she did say was so powerful. I don't know. I was just really blown away again by her talent.
Yeah, I love that part where they're standing there, she and Dolls, and he's, being like, it's, there's a million possibilities, a million reasons, whatever. She's like, yeah, but there's
Because
more.
what is the other? What are the? Name those million dolls. I mean, no. I mean, granted, I do think that, like, we know a little bit more about Peacemaker now, and if Wynonna compelled Peacemaker to fire, maybe it would fire. But we did not. That wasn't a thing that was known then, and that's not what happened. Wynonna was busy fighting the bear.
Yeah, and even at first, remember, like, Wynonna couldn't shoot that thing for shit.
All that training. All that drunken middle of the night training. It's ingrained in her. I think that Willa Earp, nature versus nurture, is a very fascinating conversation that we could have. And then we would lose all of our followers, because I would be like, well, I mean, she wasn't all bad. And then we would get negative downloads.
Well, especially when here, nature has two different meanings.
Anyway, do you guys have anything else about this episode? Like, I thought it was just fucking amazing, and like the last part of this season is just gangbusters, and this, I mean, the freight train continues. It's so good.
I have a random thought that I was having as she was talking to Wynonna, like trying to get her settled into the room, and she's like, "You're gonna sleep there, but don't worry, I don't snore." And all I could think to myself, like based on, cons and all these other things, is the person who immediately like offers up to you that they don't snore
Maybe
definitely
she has a
snores.
CPAP machine.
Like, no.
Maybe that's why she doesn't snore. I mean, Amazon probably delivers out to Yiska's cult. I don't know.
Amazon delivers anywhere.
With their drones.
I also thought that she had a, from her facial expression, it was interesting how weird the reaction was.
It was like it triggered something in her that she just couldn't comprehend. I really enjoyed it.
The episode or the trigger?
Both.
Okay, great. It was a great episode, and the rest of the season is also like, I want to watch the next one and jump on in a couple hours so we can record that one. Like, I'm just excited to keep going. I'm not actually gonna do that because I have to do laundry, but and my mom keeps passive aggressively reminding me that I need to mow my lawn. Like, it was 37 degrees out when she asked earlier. I'm not gonna mow the lawn in 37-degree weather, and it was snowing. Not here, but somewhere probably.
My mom mowed the lawn last weekend before she left because I'm a little bit disabled at this point. And I'm like looking and I'm like, God damn it, why has the weather been nice? Like, the grass is growing really, really quickly.
So you're doing better? I thought maybe our listeners would want to hear an update on your surgery.
So I had the surgery, when was that? On the 17th. So it's been 12 days. I got my sutures out. I have like 3 tiny little scars, which is really impressive considering everything that they did. Like, based off of like my doctor, talking to me and like reviewing like my new x-rays and like reviewing all the new scans and whatnot, says like everything looks pretty solid. Things are going great for the most part.
All right, cool.
We'll see. My doctor sent my company an estimated return to work date of June 12th because it isn't really safe for me to drive a car right now. Because I'm taking like narcotic pain medication, and also because without your left arm doing like a turn signal and whatnot isn't really easy or safe. So I am enjoying the fact that I don't have to worry about work for a while.
Awesome. I'm not envious of all your pain, but a little bit envious of that, if we're being honest.
I'm sitting here like, it hurts a lot, and it's really difficult to like get more than a few hours of sleep at a time because I need to like wake up to take like medication, and also like if I roll over to my left side at all, it hurts like fucking hell. So it's difficult to get a lot of sleep, but like I'm not upset at all about it because I don't have to go to work, and like for the past like year, work has been progressively getting shittier and shittier.
Well, we're glad you're feeling kind of better, and that, I mean, I know you talked to Marcy about it at Lexicon, and she was like, "Oh, it's it's gonna be so much better like once you get to the end."
Marcy's been great because I like sent her kind of like an update on like what they actually did to my shoulder. And since she's had experience with it, she's been like super like supportive and super helpful. So like, thank you, Marcy.
That's awesome. I wanted to do quick shout outs to the people who designed our stuff in our merch store. So thank you to Chantal, Sam, and our own BP for designing the logos and everything for the merch in our store. If you're interested in buying any of that, you can go to our website, earpsplainpod.com, and click on shop, and you can find a Hundy Spiral, a Lesbian, all sorts of logos for our podcast, and some other stuff there too. We also wanted to say thanks to our patrons who sponsor us and make this podcast possible. If you'd like to be a patron, that information is probably on our website, right?
Yep. If you go to earpsplainpod.com, you can click on the Patreon tab, and it'll send you to that. There's the shop tab. There is a contact us tab that has all of the information that we will probably spout off in a second. There's going to be a kind of a slight, I'm going to be doing some redesign on the website to support our new podcast that we launched, because none of us want to have to pay for another URL. It's kind of pricey. So there'll be, I haven't quite figured out all the logistics of it, but there'll be kind of a redesign to it. But you can find our current episodes of this podcast and our minisodes, every Earp review that Monica's done, and there'll be more stuff added as we go.
BP, do you want to talk about the new podcast a little bit?
Sure. We know, so basically what started happening is we would spiral a lot about other shows, or when we did our mini episodes, it was like all over the place. So we kind of decided to keep this one as Wynonna Earp as possible, except for when obviously it connects to all the things that we love. And we started a new podcast. It's called The Binge Doctors, mostly so we could use the acronym TBD, but also we just are pretty much experts at binging television and watching way too much of it and wanting to talk about it all the time. So over there, it'll be lots of spoilers, basically on anything that's happened over a year, unless we just specifically say like a certain episode that it's about. It's gonna cover lots of stuff. I think we have our first episode up over there. You can hear like a bajillion shows that we may talk about.
So basically the new podcast is just a way for us to shout about all the other TV that we love without forcing people who only care about Wynonna Earp to listen to us.
So as you can see, we have all sorts of fun things going on. The next episode that we record will probably be a recap of 111, Landslide, aka the episode where Waverly gets shot and Willa and Wynonna have like Uzis or something, right? Isn't that what happens in that one? I think so. If you have any feedback on that episode you would like to send to us, or any feedback at all in general, you can DM us on our Twitter at earpsplainpod, I think. You can email us at somethingintheair@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail at
678-871-0098.
is that all? I think those are all the ways you can get hold of us. Is that right? Yeah. If you like this podcast, and who wouldn't, you can review us over on iTunes. You can also, no, you can You can rate and review us on iTunes and Google Play. That's not right. Nope. You can review us. I was right the first time.
Nope.
Review us. Rate and review us over at iTunes, and you can rate, review, and subscribe to us. Nope. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. Hey man, it's been a long couple of months. And if you do have positive things to say about us to the public, we would appreciate it. It just helps kind of make us more accessible. And so if other people are looking for Wynonna Earp podcasts, it helps them find us. Because they're like, oh, they have all these great star ratings. I will ignore those 2 1-star ones and assume that they're good. So that would be very helpful. Did I miss anything in this clusterfuck of an outro?
No,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, you start.
Wait,
I was
Twitters?
testing
Are we
you.
still doing that? Is that a thing? Okay, you can find me, BP, at Beep33TV.
I am Monica, Lesbianzer. And BP, your other one? Your Wynonna Earp one? So now you have all of the info. So get a hold of us if you want to and send us feedback for the next episode. We'd love to hear it. And remember, it may be a shit show, but it's our shit show.
Me at McNick1291.